Hey dudes, welcome back to another episode of our Rhomas Men's Team podcast. You are about to listen to one of our prior team meetings. If you ever want to join one of our live sessions that we have every Monday and Friday, head over to rhomas.com. That's RHOMAS.com and put your email in and we will send you a live link every time we record. We generally record on Mondays and Fridays. So if you ever want to be on the actual podcast, like we bring men up all the time to talk about their goals, talk about their obstacles, etc., head over to rhomas.com. And then also, if you want to help support the channel grow and also have access to exclusive content, book reviews, extra whiteboard sessions, etc., and some coaching sessions, head over to patreon.com and support us. We would love it. But if not, no biggie. We'll see you on the live sessions. Later, dudes. Enjoy this podcast.
We are live. What's up, bros?
What's up, man?
Tops pop, dude.
Yo, yeah.
Flexing, dude.
Those traps are serious.
Don't get bit, dude. Yeah. No, I was telling Wes. I took a long walk. I now when it gets warm out, I start to meditate on my roof deck, and dude, it's so nice, man. I go out there, and it's just I start sweating immediately. And just sit there for 20 minutes. It's really nice. So this morning, I just dedicated the entire morning to just sweating.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a great roof deck too.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. So
yeah,
man. And that was you remember my mental battle I was having where I'd go running with my shirt off and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've started to this summer. I've started to incorporate it basically every run, even on walks. I'd be like, well, I should be running. I can't just walk with my. I'm just like, bro, I'm just popping the top.
Dude, next level is Trader Joe's trip, shirtless.
I mean, dude, I just want to get turned down from somewhere. I just want to have no shirt on. Fuck. Why? I think I'm playing too much GTA. My GTA character has no shirt, so I've just been like, yeah, I don't have to wear one.
How's that going?
It's fun. It's very fun.
How often do you play?
Like once a week, I would say.
Nice, man.
Yeah, once a week, roughly. Sometimes, like last week was busy, but yeah, this week we played on Friday, and it's just funny. It's just funny fucking around. You're talking to people, and there was one guy, Finzer. I think he's from Finland or somewhere. And so we do this thing where you kind of have to defend the territory against all the other people who are on the thing. But then we start, like, we were just killing it. So we start fucking around and start shooting each other. So you get sniped by one of your own. And like, what the fuck, dude? And then the one dude, Finzer, was chasing me. I had a rocket launcher. We were like close range. And it just in like his accent, he's like, "You're playing a very dangerous game, my friend." I've been laughing about that. I don't know why that made me laugh so hard. But yeah, man. So it was good. That's been fun. And like I was telling you before we went on, this week I'm trying to I have 2 projects I will wrap up this week, and they just must be finished. So that's gonna be that.
And what are those? Just to remind everybody.
So I did the writing thing for the Psychnol thing last week, and then today's gonna be the audio recording. Oh, so yeah, this week I'm gonna do the audio recording, and realistically I won't get the video done. What I want to do this week is get the audio recorded and the video started. And then the video finished on a separate Patreon thing I'm doing for Matt and Shane's this week.
Got it.
That's the goal.
Cool. I am going to commit to. I need to get like one high quality video done. That's what I want. I want to get one high quality video done, and also get the Rhomas University up. Like those are my 2 commitments. 2 things.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I'd be curious too. I was actually thinking about this before we started. I was like, people should feel free to throw stuff in. And and to be honest, and I'm not being a dick, but if you're like, I have nothing in particular I'm trying to do this week, it's like, well, you should. So
scorecard.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Every single time.
Yeah. A portion of the reason that the scorecard was developed is it gives you 11 goals off the bat daily. Doesn't require any sort of thinking, and it's just fundamental and universal to all men. So just download that thing. If you need help with it, just let one of the guys know or let Matt and I know, and we'll send it to you. But that's just a low-hanging fruit. Because you're right, Matt. People do get hung up on well, I don't know what I could do. I don't know what I'm passionate about, all that stuff. It's like, okay, great news. You don't have to figure that out right now. Do the scorecard first and let that give you a certain amount of mental momentum.
Yeah. No, that's true. Exactly. Like, even if it's just sticking to that. But even, like I said, I do think there's something too. Once you master that, or even like, again, I have yet to master it. I do it for like 2 weeks and stop. But just having some projects, that's like, for me, that keeps me going, man. When I have like my little projects I'm doing, that's like my, That's my favorite thing.
Yeah, even if you just picked one thing out of the scorecard, let's say you're starting from absolute zero. You just had something happen, your girlfriend just left you, or whatever it is, you got in a car accident, blah, 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 all of that kind of stuff. Just pick one thing out of the scorecard and pick the easiest thing. I don't know, easiest thing is probably drink water, right? Drink a half gallon of water. If you can't do a half gallon, do a half of a gallon, right? Like just something to give you momentum. It's super easy. It's free. A bunch of the dudes do it. I do it every single day, Monday through Friday with these guys. Super simple. So that'd be my best piece of advice.
Hell yeah. But dude, before we went on, you were talking about something you guys were discussing earlier today.
Yeah, I think one thing we learned, so every morning we have a scorecard meeting, and as the guys know, and then we watch a quick little 5-minute video. And a great thing that we learned today was this video about charisma and confidence, but via a method of being complimentary to others around you and elevating them through that method, and typically kind of in a humorous way. But I think as men, we need to hear that more often, because I think a lot of us are competitive. Obviously, very much true for myself. So I have to learn tools to get out of that competitive sort of like instinctive thing for myself and learn to elevate others around me rather than trying to beat them all the time. Now, I still very much believe the best thing a man can do is compete with another man. But there's a method at which you can do it that improves the both of you simultaneously and builds the relationship in perpetuity, if that makes sense. And one of those ways is elevating. So let's just say, Matt, I would give you a compliment, something saying, hey man, you're awesome at stand-up comedy. Your traps look amazing in that light right now. Yeah.
I was like, which is, let's have
it. So I think we don't hear that enough. I think oftentimes our natural instincts tell us to like, oh, just out muscle the guy, look bigger than him, be stronger than him, talk over him, all those kinds of stuff, all those kinds of messages. And I just think that's wrong. Versus if you look at it, kind of the behind the scenes is when you can compliment those around you, it implies that you are confident enough to not have to always be optically the best. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, man. I mean, that cuts out, and that's kind of that was always the rub for me with a lot of like some of the literature that would just be like, this is how you dominate every scene you're in. This is how you do that. And it's like, it's just, for me, it's just, I think it's just, I don't know, something about it seems kind of like zero sum. And you're talking about like non-zero sumness, where it's like, look, like we can both do our thing. We both can try as hard as we can and we can compete and all that stuff. But yeah, it doesn't have to be this like cutthroat, diehard stuff. It can just be like, yo, let's, I do think that makes for a better general experience.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
And it's fun, dude. It's like, especially if you have like some form of social anxiety, like, and I for some reason I'm still weird. I go to parties and like shit, and I go like I'm around people I don't know, and I'm like, oh fuck, I don't want to talk to these guys. Like I feel weird going into like a conversation circle. But yeah, I think like the easiest thing, like you're saying, is go in and be like, whoever it is, just, and it does sound kind of psychotic to me, at least, to like premeditate these kinds of things. However, it's better than the alternative is me just standing there like.
Yes.
Which is psychotic too, so I'm just kind of a psycho. Sorry, let me bring my mic over. I think people are having problems hearing me. Oh. There we go. But yeah, I agree, man. I think if people feel kind of, weary about certain situations, it's something like you were saying, Wes, you forget it's even on the table. You're like, I got to do this, I got to prove this, blah, blah, blah. You can just go in there and, be nice and compliment people, and it's just cool.
Oh, yeah. And I think, so if we dissect it a little further, I think one of the things to look at is, well, you actually, how do I say this? You actually do need to have a bit of self-confidence to do that. But I don't think that requires as much work as people think. So, for instance, if you have super low self-esteem, it's going to be very hard to compliment other people, because every compliment feels like it buries you under, right? Like that hierarchy, if that makes sense. Because it's almost reminds you of your own sort of like confident, like, mortality in a certain way. So I think there's fundamentals. I think number one, the fundamental of that is knowing that you're going to be okay regardless of whatever happens to you. Like at the end of the day, I will be fine. I have options. I think that's another way of thinking it. And if you add on top of that, well, I have options and I will be okay because I'm committed to actually delivering value. Right, that speaks nothing to inherent skill set. It just says at the end of the day, I know I'll be fine because I'm committed to giving people around me value. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I have two things. What I'm curious about. First of all, I couldn't. My face was twitching thinking about like just being choosy with the nature of compliments. Just like bust into a party and just go up to like the oldest guy and be like, "Dude, your ass looks phenomenal in those pants." I mean, that's how you take over any setting. You compliment the men sexually, and they're like, "Whoa, what the fuck?"
Oh yeah, no, that's the advanced level
Find
approach,
the
definitely.
oldest man and hit on him. They're like, "Holy shit, dude!" Um, I couldn't. My face was. I was trying to keep a straight face. The thing. Here's the question: when you get someone who genuinely believes that is not the case, like I'm actually not okay. I don't have options. Blah 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 blah. Sorry, it's kind of rude, but like, how would you proceed in like helping people adopt something closer? So if you're not going to get people to be like, "Hey, I'm okay," 'cause I agree. I think at one point you have. I think you should ask yourself every day, like, am I okay or am I not okay? And if you're saying I'm not okay, it's like, well, why? There should be reasons. And then if you're not okay, well, then attack those reasons with all your effort, or just complain about them and join the huddled masses of people who think everything's unfair and blah blah blah. Which and again, I'm not being a dick about it. There are generally circumstances that come about that it's like you make a strong case for it, but it's still not going to improve your your situation. So it's like. Yeah, I always wonder like what are like some of the how can you baby step your way into that of like I nothing feels okay. I'm at a job. I don't really make much money. I'm all of the things that are supposed to define a well-lived life seem out of my grasp, and they don't feel like I'm experiencing them at all.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. So my opinion on that would be combining Jordan Peterson with church. I think church does a phenomenal job at it. So church, one of the main components is faith, right? Like God has this in store for you. Just wait, it's coming. That sort of a thing. So I think that message is really helpful to the human psyche. And I happen to believe that like something good is coming for you. Like if you stay on the path, if you make the commitment to delivering value, you inevitably will receive value back. So I think the faith component, and then Jordan Peterson combining that with just do whatever you can do now. If you can't do a mile's worth of work, then do an inch's worth of work. So I think if you combine those things, like just the tiniest bit of action with the tiniest bit of faith, or even I actually prioritize that, the tiniest bit of faith first, because let's say you can't even get to the action part. Just having faith that something is going to happen positively for you. And I've never experienced where that hasn't been the case, because if you just open your mind to that, all of a sudden you pay attention to the good things that are happening around you, right? Like they're happening all around us. So I think that automatically can give you the message of, oh, I actually am worth it, right? The universe is giving me some feedback, some positive feedback that I am worth it. So for instance, let's just say I'm super down on my luck and I don't have any sort of confidence because I inherently don't think I'm valuable or something like that. But all of a sudden I say, well, I'm just going to have some faith. Well, then I start to pay attention I open my mind up to the fact that my girlfriend made me this green drink this morning. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, wow, like this was a gift to me. So I think that little tiny ember of faith can really help you be perceptive of the benefits that you're constantly receiving. Like it can even get down to the level of like, I'm breathing. Right, like wow, there's people in this world who right now are struggling to breathe. Right, so I think that's probably the nucleus. That's my best guess. Matt, what do you think the prerequisites would be?
I think that's awesome, man. I think that's like, yeah, you have to like first of all, if you're complaining about your situation, I think this is, again, I think a lot of the times it's warranted, but it's like you were saying, Wes, like, is it possible? Do you think there's the smallest possibility of this changing and turning around for you? And if someone's like, no, I don't believe that, and it's like, well, that's, that most likely will become a self-fulfilled prophecy unless you get like extremely lucky. So I agree, man. That's like the first thing. Like, do you even have what you want? Do you have exactly what would make you feel better defined? Is it clearly defined? Chances are it's not. That's how I was moving forever. It's like, I don't fucking know. I just want shit to be good. I don't know what I want it to be good. I want it to be good in a general sense, and and I want it now. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, that's not going to happen. But I agree. I think if you can kind of just open yourself to the like when you were saying, Wes, when you open yourself to the possibility that things can indeed get better, that's like step one. Like, do you think there's a scrap of hope? Say, yeah, they can get better. All right, well, like you were saying too, it's like, what exactly would that entail? And what exactly would that ask? Would that, I'm sure that requires little things from you, maybe a little, like what little tweaks did you make to do that? But the big thing too is it comes with the thing you said of like having that shift of attitude. And that's where it gets a bad rap, because you get that into the secret stuff. It's like, oh, am I supposed to like imagine food if I'm starving? It's like, no, obviously it's not what it is. It's just when you change your attitude to a more pleasant, positive, helpful, and like kind of one where you're taking initiative. I swear to God, I swear by this, people notice that. And if that becomes part of your personality and part of how you just like get down in general, it will you get people who get all like, fucking sucks, there's no jobs, and they go to a job and they're like, this job sucks. And then you get fired and you're like, I knew there was no jobs. And it's like, well, you kind of sucked. Like, to be fair, like, I'm not being an asshole. It's like you kind of went into a place and didn't add anything. Like, not only did you not really do anything, but you had a shitty attitude. You're kind of annoying to deal with. People notice that shit. Whereas like there's like we're I'm thinking of an example right now. We go do like we've been doing our podcast at the Stand in New York, and there's this guy there who it's just like, he doesn't have to do this, but he's just like, boom, what do you guys need? What do you guys need? And he's like, he'll like message me like, we're thinking about doing all this shit. It takes all this extra initiative. No one asked him to do this shit. And it's like and I think this is like people are kind of, most people are kind of reciprocal in nature. So it's like when people are doing things for you like that, you typically have them in mind for something. If something pops up, you're like, yo, there's this guy, he's great. Say if like someone's like, hey, I need someone to do this, I'd be like, oh, this guy knocks it out of the park. You think of him and you can get kind of bounced around like that. Like, without even doing anything personally yourself, people are thinking of you because you're making an impression. And it's like,
oh yeah,
I swear to God, that's one of the, and that comes with wrangling your mood, and there's things to do, but it's like if you're feeling shitty all day, it's like that is a sign from your body. Like you don't have to fake it, but like something must change. And again, you can just fight against it, and you can like join in with the sorrows of everyone else at a place who's typically complaining about a job. But it's I swear to God, that's the number one thing of like you were saying, Wes, like having belief that things can get better, and then adopting an attitude as if that's going to happen and living your life according to the thing that will happen eventually, rather than being like, I can point to a million things that suck about my life right now easily, but it's like, I'm not going to get hung up on that. That's going to literally drag everybody around me down. That's how I think people it can help people think of it. And it's like, you start real small, and then eventually you start to kind of learn how to like, get people who are like, this job sucks, this boss sucks. It's like, have you ever managed people? It's like, no. And it's like, what would you do? And it's hard. I don't really manage people like that, but it's like, it's like, well, then go be a manager somewhere. And see, like, that way you have a experience. But either way, I'm rambling at this point. But like, dude, the attitude one is a huge shift, and it changes like everything around you.
Yeah, well, I think you're hitting on a great point. And I learned this at Landmark Forum, and I think we can extrapolate it a bit. So one of the things they teach you in the forum is be responsible for how you are heard, not just for what you say. So if we extrapolate that a little bit, it's like be responsible for not only the delivery, but also how it's received. So that includes like showing up to work. It's not just sufficient that you show up. It's the way you show up, right? Your attitude, your tone, and so on. And I'm sure as men, we could all use this example. Like it's when you get in an argument with your girlfriend or your spouse or a family member, friend, etc. It's not just apologizing, right? Because if you apologize and say, I'm sorry, right? That is not the same thing as saying, I'm really sorry, right? Like being responsible for the way things are received, at least in a healthy manner. There are certain times where just the person's not going to receive it as well. And you should probably consider maybe even cutting ties with that person, because some people are just eternally unreasonable. So I can totally understand that. But that's like 1% of the case. The other 99% of the cases is if you do the right things, and if you do them the right way, and you do them for the right amount of time, you will be heavily, and in my opinion, disproportionately rewarded for those actions.
Yeah. It's just that, again, you have to get through that slog where like you're doing all the work and you're like, well, nobody's recognizing me. Nobody's like, that's where the kind of faith component comes in. It's like, you got to give it time, and you got to, and then that's where your judgment comes in. If you're in a setting where like, look, I'm doing all this shit and they're just taking advantage, it's like, yeah, get out of there. Like, trust me, there's a million people who will be very happy to have someone who takes initiative, isn't bringing everybody down, isn't grumpy all the fucking time. And it's like, yeah, the way I think about it too, like you're saying, like, you got to pay attention to like how you say things. It's like, if you can just imagine there's a musical genre playing off of you dependent on your mood. Like you're walking into a place and is it like, or, is it like some pleasant mellow jazz, and it's like people pick up on that shit, man. If you're in there like, good morning. It's like, I said good morning. I think we're all just kind of talking about our girlfriends right now, but I said good morning. What? It's like, you said it fucking mean. You're mean. You sharpened your eyes at me.
Yes, 100%.
But
we all know what
that
that's
shit
like.
too. You get guys who come in, they're like, hey, what's up, man? It's the first thing a lot of people say in the morning. It's like, what the fuck, dude?
Yep.
Like, you don't think I have shit going on? Don't sigh at me as soon as I see you. It's like, come on, dude. It's 8 o'clock.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here. It's like, what is that?
Oh, yeah. No, it's terrible.
And I understand. I get it, dude. I've been like that. I understand it. But as you get older, you're like, dude, it's like, get that shit out of here. We don't need that. I was talking to my friend today. It's like most people, the older you get, are dealing with shit. And you just deal with more shit as you get older. So when people come in, they're like, it's like, yeah, I know, dude. I know. I could write a fucking Moby Dick novel about the things that I don't like. But it's like, nobody wants to hear them. For real. It's like, nobody wants to fucking hear them. And it's like, and it's, that stuff's there. And there's all this other good stuff. So it's like, if you can just work at like changing that attitude towards the good stuff slowly, I'm telling you, your experience starts to morph. And it's pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah. And if you want like A+ level skill set at this, just go hang out with, in my opinion, blue collar dude who's been doing that job for decades and is still happy because he's got like the best one-liners ever. Now it only represents like 4% of the population, but like, dude, I've learned these growing up and working with these dudes constantly, and it's just awesome. Like, one is like, you know what, Wes? Like this guy used to tell me all the time, like, you know what, Wes? I'm not mad, but I'm not happy. And then just kind of like smile afterwards, like all these like little one-liners. He's happy a pig in the mud, man. So I think there's an element of that, but I do think at the same time, there's probably some guys thinking it's like, well, what if you're transitioning your personality to you were the jerk at work for the last year? And how do you start to come out of it? Because if that's you, and we've all been in that situation where you've kind of tainted your reputation for people around you to not necessarily have the most positive image of you in their head. And the best way I could describe it is it's going to take time. What you don't want to do is don't want to go into work the next day or into your relationship the next day, whatever it is for you. And you don't want to try once and to have that person not give you positive feedback. And then you say, well, I tried, right? Because it's kind of like, if you could imagine, like if you're cleaning out a water bottle, like a clear plastic water bottle that you got dirt in, like that's their perception of you. You got dirt in your emotional water bottle right now for that person. Well, if you've ever tried to wash dirt out of a bottle, it's not you just pour one drop of water and then you pour the dirt. It gets like stuck on the edges, right? It takes some while to run some clean water through that till it gets completely clear. So that's the best way I can think of visualizing is like you have to keep on rinsing and repeating, keep rinsing and repeating. And then eventually humans around you will know you as a different person. And honestly, probably even better because they recognize the effort that it took for you to grow from where you were. But I just want to give the message of it's not an overnight process. If you're dealing with a toxic reputation, it takes a long time to flush that out. But the cool thing is it takes way less time than it took you to build the shitty reputation.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think people dealing with addiction deal with that a lot. You get people who are like,
oh yeah,
they're like ripping shit off and
doing
all kinds of wild stuff, and then they get sober and they're like, hey, all right, I'm back, and it's like, all right, we're happy for you. They're like, give me my my salary and shit I want. It's like, all right, just you gotta wait a little bit, man. So that's something I have friends who I've dealt with that, where they'll come back and like, I'm at this job, nobody's giving me, I need a pay raise. It's like, dude, like you fucking fell out of a porta potty, overdosed on heroin. Like it's going to take a little bit for people to be like, here's the keys to the van. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I do. I think it's I think that it comes with that faith component, man. It comes with like just being like, look, this will change. It's not changing now. And also there's a lot of stuff about surrender, which is like an idea of like just fully accept. A lot of times like a lot of the stuff comes from the fact that you don't accept your circumstances. You're like, no, this isn't happening. This isn't happening. This isn't happening. It's like, no, like this is exactly your circumstances. And it's like, once you fully accept them and you're like, all right, this is okay, this is happening, but I'm going to pivot out of this. Like, I feel like that's a subtle thing, but I think that helps as well.
Yeah. Well, and no, I completely agree. And for the original topic that we were talking about of complimenting those around us, I want to add a little caveat to that, if that's okay, Matt. Don't make it weird, and don't make, in the process, do not tear yourself down, if that makes sense. Because I think that there's very few things that are worse than somebody who continuously tears themselves down, because number one, it's kind of obvious, and number two, it just gets a little monotonous, if that makes sense. Like for instance, I've got a good friend of mine. Almost every single time I talk to him, he tears himself down a little bit, and he laughs about it. But it's almost to the point of like, clearly you don't believe, clearly like you believe this too much, and clearly you don't believe that it's funny, because you wouldn't keep on doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's something off, and it gets in the way of our communication.
There's a point of self-deprecation. There's like, people can use self-deprecation, and it can be nice to like show people you don't take yourself too seriously. But
Yeah, absolutely.
I was reading a book, and they talk just about this, how it's kind of like the flip side of the egomaniac, where you get people who like self-deprecate constantly to the point where it's a form of like kind of emotional control.
Yep.
Or just to be like, hey, like, it's just strange. It's like, hey man, like, we get it. Like, you're good.
Yeah. I think there's an element there of trying to fit, like just trying to bargain your way into the hierarchy and reserve your space, knowing that it's several levels below the leaders of the hierarchy, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Right? Versus like looking at yourself, it's like, no, again, not a triangle. It's a circle. You deserve to be at the table. So stop throwing little subtle hints, but not really so subtle that you don't deserve it, just so we can reserve a spot for you lower on the totem pole. I think that's a psychological flaw that works against you over time.
Yeah, that's true. You're kind of, it's funny because I just read about that in the book I was reading, and they talk about that all the time. I should try to find the thing, but whatever. But yeah, they have and it's, you don't think about that because you're like, oh, that's, we're all kind of, you can kind of, people can like conspire and join up and keep each other kind of like that in some level. But yeah, there's no need to do that. That's, and this might sound kind of broad or vague, but it's once you kind of start doing a thing where you take like a conscious approach of your life and you say, all right, like, it's not perfect. I'm going to try to at least focus. And the answer is like, oh, this stuff's so cheesy. Why do you do this? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, again, if your goal is to eventually have a family, have kids, like you just can't be going around kicking rocks all day and being like,
right.
It's a horrible example, and it's just not fun to be around. It sucks, and it rubs off on other people.
Right.
So I feel like you kind of have to, in my opinion, start to do this on some level, or it's just, that's when you hit the recliner, you hit the beers, and you're just sitting there like screaming at the TV for the rest of your life, and it's like, depressing.
Yeah. And I'm going to give this example out there because I see it a lot. And this is no offense to anybody, but I see it with guys who need to lose weight or who want to lose weight, instead of, and this is why one of the reasons I love the guys on this team who are on that weight loss journey, and we all are on a weight loss journey to a certain extent, but choosing to accept your cross and bear it and walk down that like tedious road and saying, no, I'm going to lose weight. Like, don't make fun of yourself for it, because that's almost a sense of like, at least what I have perceived, of giving up. Where like, oh yeah, I'm 500 pounds and it's hilarious. It's like, well, yeah, I get that, but it's not hilarious in terms of me thinking of you about thinking about your family. It won't be hilarious when you have a heart attack, right? Like there's natural consequences to these things. So as men, I think we need to be more supportive of each other on that journey and not just support the comic relief of it, if that makes sense. Like that's one area that I've seen happen a lot. Like the bigger guy constantly makes fun of himself for being big, and everybody else around him laughs, and that there he secures his place on the team. I'm just the big funny guy, right? I've seen that personality, that kind of caricature or archetype a lot, and I don't think that's fair to himself.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there, and I say that with love, complete love. So I think that's a very common pattern that I've seen that I think can be relatively toxic to bigger men.
So it's funny too because Sidney Gant, he's a comedian, and he was doing
He's a great guy, by the way.
He's a man. He was doing a thing where he was specifically training comedians, and he had a rule that they were not allowed to joke about what they were doing while they're training. He's like, no jokes about yourself, because he's like, he's like, there's a distraction. He's like, I don't want to hear it. I've heard all. He's like, no, no, like, oh, this sucks. None of that stuff. I'm like, oh, I haven't done this in forever. And every single fucking comedian, I swear to God, not everyone, but a lot, have that same stuff of like, so I'm in the gym now, and I'm not a gym guy, but it's like, shut the fuck up. But yeah, but he was like, none of that self-deprecating stuff. Like, we're just gonna work out. He's like, you can go joke about, do whatever you want, but like, don't bring that kind of stuff here. Like, we're gonna get after it. But yeah man, I agree, man. I think, like I said, that's kind of my I feel like within this year or so, and again, I don't say all this to sound like high and mighty. It's like I feel like, I think you've helped me a lot, Wes, of like, and maybe this just comes with maturity, I don't know, but I feel like I turned a serious corner in life and kind of cracked a code in terms of like, how to just be at peace with myself. And it's like, I'm really trying to, and again, maybe I'm just weird or something, I don't know, but I'm really trying to help as many people gain that sense of peace as possible, because I've also lived the alternative, and it's fucking hellish, dude. To be in total war with yourself, your surroundings, and like your life path of like, no, it's fucking miserable. So, that's like, I don't ever want to come off like, oh, you think you know everything. And maybe it's just me just freaking myself out. But it's like, that's something at one point, and this is, again, the book I was reading of like how easily people give away their own personal power. And like you were saying, Wes, like this is more of the approach of like building everybody up and being like, no, you have it too. You're just so garbled behind your own defense mechanisms. Like that's kind of like the self-deprecation is a way people like give their power to another person. Like, oh, you're the good one on the bad. And it's like, no, dude, that's just a thing you do to protect yourself. Same thing with, what do they do? A lot of times people project like their own power onto other people. So if like someone exudes a sense of confidence, a lot of times people just believe what they say, because they're like, well, you seem to know what you're talking about. And they'll project their own inherent source of power onto this person who seems confident, and they'll hold them up as like, oh my God, they're the best. And it's like, you have that in you as well. So, that, and it's stupid as it sounds. I take it, my shirtless walks and runs, I take them very seriously, because I'm confronted with like what I call, again, these are like my personal fear gates. It's like, I can't do that. And it's like, why? Why are you being weird about, like, for real? Why? What are you worried about? And it's like, well, I don't know. People think I'm like a dick or something. And it's like, do you like walking around and feeling the sun on your skin? I'm like, yes. And it's like, then stop, you weirdo. I'm just walking down Girard Ave, just like, but like, dude, when you really get into it, man, that shit happens like on a minute level. And like if you don't get conscious of those things, those little fear-based defense mechanisms they'll just kind of push you into like weird paths of life that are genuinely shitty and suck. So
I think there's an element, and again, this is a landmark forum thing. I just got to give credit where it's due. I'm not recommending necessarily the landmark forum, but the objective being full self-expression, right? Like there's just so many things blocking our full self-expression. And then the cool thing is, once you just open up one of those little blockages, you're like, oh, that feels pretty good. Like, oh, now I can walk around the park with my shirt off. Like, that feels good. The sun feels good. Oh, I'm going to go try this dance class. Oh, that's what it feels like to move. Now, one that I don't think I'll ever be able to get to. It's like, oh, that's what it feels like to sing out loud. That sounds pretty,
You'll get there.
No, that's a Hoover Dam, bro. Like that is not coming down. That is not coming down. There's miles thick of concrete in that one, man.
You'll get there, dude.
I don't know, man. We'll see.
You'll be so happy the time that you do it. What happened to you with singing? You probably have a wonderful voice.
Dude, that's what my mom says. You and my mom, I think, are a class of their own. Neither of you have any evidence of that whatsoever. That's
I hear that bass, dude. I hear that bass in your voice.
So,
have you sang ever in front of anybody?
Absolutely not, dude.
What?
No, absolutely not. Yeah,
it's getting knocked down, dude. Singing, I'm telling you, singing is a joy of life.
No, I agree. Like all these primitive things. If you have you ever read the book Sapiens?
Yeah.
Oh,
Sing,
dude.
Yeah.
Okay, there's just so many elements of just being primal and moving to sounds and then making sounds that are just so inherently human. But we have just added these barriers for, cavemen would probably look at us and be like you're afraid to make sounds? Is that what that other human just said? Right? You're afraid to make sounds? Oh yeah. Yeah, literally.
God, that's
Like,
so
yeah,
funny.
caveman, back off, dude. Go back to your Geico commercial. It's like, I just can't do it. I just can't do it.
Yeah, it's nerve wracking.
Yeah. So, race.
It is just talking. It's the funniest part. It's just talking.
I know.
Just with a
Well, when you
different-
have guys like Bieber out there who are able to hit like different notes, you're like, what? Like, how is that
a lot of that's
possible,
auto
dude?
tune, man. A lot of that's.
I don't know, man.
Oh, I'm sure the guy can genuinely sing.
I watched him on Live Lounge. I don't think they're auto tuning that, man.
I'm sure he can genuinely sing, but they do digitally enhance a lot of people's voices now. And I'm no shots at the Biebs, but I'm sure he can sing. But and
He's a beast.
Yeah, he does. I actually do like Bieber a lot. He rules. The problem, I think, with the things that usually, they were like free for everybody access to, like, singing, dancing, blah, blah, blah. A lot of those things got kind of commodified where it's like, I'm a professional singer, I'm a professional dancer. And like, so if you try to do it, people are like, oh, I shouldn't do this. And it's like, no, you should probably fucking,
Yeah.
you should probably do it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So I will. I'm going to put that in the parking lot for now, but I will.
Do you sing by yourself?
Yeah. I think like
What song is good? What song do you sing? You're like, hell yeah, this is my.
I don't know. So I've got a really weird, eclectic, thing with music because dancing's really opened me up a lot to a lot of different genres.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'd have to think about it. Who's that guy? Ray La
Montaigne.
Yeah. There's that one like very popular song. Was like "You Are My Best Thing." I think that's what he keeps on. "You Are the Best Thing,"
yeah.
something like that. But he just nails it. That song, man. It's such a great song.
Yeah, you'll get, dude. I'm telling you, you got the guitar. You got the guitar, right?
Yep.
Just
And it's going great, by the way.
Is it really?
Oh yeah, I'm loving it, dude. Help my robot brain. It's like, just do these things and I'll sit there for an hour and just do it. It just feels very therapeutic. It like oils the cogs in my robot brain.
Yeah, the music's a very nice thing to do, and it's a nice thing to make music. And again, it's one of those shifts where it's like, oh, I'm not a guitar, I'm not a musician. It's like, just fuck around and bang drums, dude. It's fun. It's so much fun.
It is fun. It is very fun.
Yeah, dude, it's a blast. So I don't. I mean, we have a little bit of time. We can grab someone in the hot seat for a little and just see what. I would love to start one person a week. Just
I would love it.
Here's the thing I'm trying to do. So if anyone has something they're trying to get done this week, please jump in, and otherwise I'll just grab someone at random.
And Ray's always super transparent about what he's dealing with or what he's working on. He's always good candidate.
No, that's absolutely true. Let me grab.
No, I said that's a good thing, man.
Yeah, I'll grab the Ray Bay. Oh shit.
Because he's super self-aware and he's confident enough in himself to say like, oh, here's the little thing,
True.
that I need to work on.
That's absolutely true. But the singing block will be broken, dude. I'm telling you.
I need to break it.
You'll just go, why do I? What? Damn, dude.
What
up,
animal?
Wes?
What's
Damn,
up,
man.
money?
What's up, bro?
Is this what I get for roasting you in the comments? In the chat?
Damn, dude.
He's too humble to say this, but he was hanging out with Marky Mark for the last couple months in Palm Beach.
And Gerard Butler.
What's Marky Mark up to?
Dude, great. So I see him walking through the breakers, right? And I'd look at him and point. I'm like, kind of like, that's Marky Mark. And he doesn't break stride, and he keeps the distance like, oh shit, I'm outed, and kind of like waves.
Yeah.
He's eating at a different part of the restaurant on the breakers. And so I linger around the front door just to like get another kind of accidental run in.
Yeah.
But there's a games room for kids, and so I give up and I bring the kids into the games room. And I should have known that the arcade, the claw game, that's where that piece of trash would end up ultimately, right? And so he came
he was
in
like
there.
clawing for teddy bears?
Yeah, he just punched through the glass and grabbed the teddy. Yeah, and then he came in, and I wanted to get a picture with him, but he came in and like he was talking to his trainer, and he said about like 11 or 12 F words in the span of 3 seconds.
Really?
So then the motherfucker fucking asked me what the fuck was fucking doing. So what the fuck was I fucking supposed to fucking do? And I was like, okay, maybe not. Maybe today's not the day to ask
like,
him
dude,
for a
I got the
picture.
kids, man. What the hell? She's like, dude.
Oh yeah, really. I'm gonna
I'm like, yo,
pull rank on
Wahlberg, tone
him.
it down.
You should have just placed
Yeah.
Thea like in his arms, just
Yeah.
and we're gonna take a quick selfie. That's what you should have done.
Nah, I would have been like, Wahlberg, can the curse words, dude.
Wahlberg.
Like, why the
Wahlberg.
fuck did you close the
Zip
Wahlburgers
it.
on Gerard F?
Yeah, and then so eventually, like, he was leaving with the whole gang, and he looked at me and he said, "How you doing, sir?" And it kind of like acknowledged that I was. He acknowledged that I was kind of like venturing, like kind of circling, you know.
You should be like, Wahlberg,
But,
fuck off.
Wahlberg, no pictures, bro. I'm just trying to have some quiet time with my family today, and but it was a big thrill. Like he's a goat, man. Like,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
white trash, big hip hop star, then big movie star. The Fighter. I don't know if you guys saw that movie.
Pretty sick.
Mm-hmm. Really good movie.
Just
Ray,
a
I'm gonna be honest,
masterpiece.
man. Who cares about Ray? What are you doing this week? I don't care about Mark.
Okay.
Wahlberg. What
All
are you
right.
up to
Well,
this week?
that was a personal highlight, and all right. But so this week we're locked down in Toronto for another 2 weeks, and I got to get serious with Lucas. Like Lucas from the comments, he does amazing websites and stuff. So he gave me a list of things to do, and I haven't gotten on it at all. But because we're locked down and I'm in quarantine for returning to Canada, I want to get serious about when the economy opens up in 2 weeks. This is a perfect incubation time for me to like get a press release, get a guest list going, get like a client list going, and just kind of like launch my business, like, and in terms of like, and we can bring it back to the self-improvement discussion that you guys were having. Like, it's never too late to launch your business or relaunch your business or make the effort,
Oh, yeah.
or like just go for it again. Like, so that is my aspiration for this week. Like being in Florida was fun. It's hard for me to get any work done when the weather's that nice,
True. That's
And
tough.
then driving back, I was road tripping, just road tripping for the last 4 or 5 days, back up to Toronto. And my wife asked me, because what I do is when I drive, I secretly have one ear pod in at the window side. And so my wife and daughter are talking to me the whole time. I'm like, that's crazy. Unbelievable. Yeah, wow. and I'm just listening to old Matt and Shane's podcast. And my wife caught my phone. She looked at my phone once. She's like, Ray, haven't you heard all of these like episodes by now? I'm like, they were going for a couple of years before I started. So I've been I'm just kind of like enjoying life in Florida and on the road trip back. And now is the time to recommit, because I'm running my own gallery. Just to like, I can't just clock in and clock out, right? So now's the time to recommit to my personal business. And something I think you guys could weigh in on is like, for Rhomas and Rhomas University, why don't you guys have an intern, one of the dogs, who just does the admin that you don't like to do? Because obviously, like Lucas will tell you, I've been promising to write a press release for going on 4 or 5 months now. And this is like a 2-hour exercise, right? And so like, how does admin like lock up or, jam up your progress, and how do you get over it?
Oh yeah, great question. Matt, do you want to take it? Because I've got an answer too.
We have like I used to have like little things I had to do for the podcast of like just like the fact of like uploading it to YouTube and all that stuff. But yeah, I ended up the dude Gardini we have. I just paid him a little extra. I'm like, dude, can you please just upload these to YouTube? As dumb as it sounds, it's like I hated doing that.
Oh yeah.
So I've learned to slowly kind of I feel like they're always well worth the money to like do that kind of stuff, within reason. Also, I would say too, there's like what you're saying before. Lucas is nasty at designing websites. He's also really good at keeping you on pace. For me, for the Psych Null website, he just kind of kept me on pace, and he's really good at that as well.
No, definitely he's a great camp counselor.
But what do you think, Wes?
Yeah, no, I think Ray's spot on. I think one of the business coaches that I've worked with in the past talks about constantly trying to focus on your highest paid activity. And it's like chipping away. So it's like once you can afford to get somebody so that it frees up your time to get to that highest paid activity. And Ray, what you're referring to now is spot on. So Matt, maybe you're the guy who's helping with Matt and Shane's. Would he be up for other projects?
For sure.
That I pay him? Cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he definitely.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, there it is, Ray. So Ray, what specifically are you trying to get done this week, dude?
A
Lay your
press
cards on the
release.
table. All right.
So,
Okay.
Matt, do you have a press release for Psych-Null or like a one-pager? I think weren't you even talking about this on Sunday, where you need like a one-pager that
No.
breaks down the seven episodes?
So it wouldn't be a press release. I wanted almost more like a manual kind of thing. I'm thinking more
Okay.
like, the steps of like NAA, something like that, where it's like manualized, and then like boom, here's a little more information if you want to go deeper. Boom, but
Okay.
have it like succinctly, and here's specifically what to do, and here's why, and like a blurb, and then boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ray, are you doing time blocking in your day?
My time blocking, my diet, my exercise, it all
Sure.
fell off the
Yeah.
cliff down in Florida, dude. You
Totally
know?
understandable.
And time blocking is why do you ask, Wes?
Well, because literally, if let's say after this podcast, you say, I'm going to set a 2-hour timer. Make sure you go pee before it, get your coffee or get your tea, whatever. So that way there's zero excuses. And then you just use that methodology that we talked about before. Or like the only things you're going to do during that 2-hour time block is you're either going to be bored or you're going to do the one thing. And that's it. Right. Like, and just beat yourself into submission on one of those two things. Does that make sense? Like, so, and I think particularly linking it with something that you're already doing, like this conversation you're already having about progress and so on. So as soon as the podcast is done, say like, honey, I'm going into the closet. I'm going into the back room.
Back into the closet.
Yeah. Back into the closet. Right. Like nothing. I'm not going to do anything except for this.
Lucas is going to be on my ass like a rash.
Hell yeah.
As
Good.
soon as this call is done.
I would propose, I mean, it's basically 12 o'clock now. I would propose we just shut it down. And I think that'd be a good thing to suggest for every single Monday of like,
it's a great idea.
Handle 12 to 2. I'm going to do a work block as well. And I'm going to try within this 2 hours to finish the thing for the Patreon, just bang it out, like get it as close to done as possible. So
that is genius, dude.
2-hour time. I think we should end this every time with a 2-hour time block.
And I think the other thing that bears repeating is that like I don't need to write a press release that is like Pulitzer Prize level, right?
No.
I just need to spend an hour on this thing and send it to Lucas. Really, all it has to be is something that people click and open the email and see the dates of like where and when, right?
Yep.
And so the press release is kind of like a required formality, but like. So just just kind of ship it, right? Get it to get it to 80% or 60 or 50 or
100%. And Matt, I want to make sure I don't lose out on what you're saying. Well, you're finishing up. So every Monday.
Every Monday we should try, just invite people to take just something or just like subject, if they have the time, even if they're at work, if they're going to work, subject themselves to just like a 2-hour time block, an hour, whatever you can do. And then Friday we can all show the fruits of our labor.
Yeah, or even like post it to the Discord.
Yes.
That Monday after the 2-hour time block, like what did you get done? It's unbelievable what you can get done inside of a focused 2-hour time block.
Yeah.
All right.
And then Ray, to a couple of your points.
Gonna post that press release.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
To the Discord by
Ray,
4 p.m. today.
Ray, to your point, I call it the myth of the grand opening, like for your business, because you kind of hinted on that. It's like, the grand opening is a myth, just like Hail Marys are a myth. There's probably 15 Hail Marys all time that you could watch on ESPN, 15. But I would ask you to see how many of those 15, how many of those teams actually won the championship that year. Right. It's just this myth. So same thing with business. The grand opening is garbage. You always have to reinvent yourself, always have to recommit like that. Those are the businesses that win, not the businesses who have got this balloons outside.
The point of the press release is just to reconnect. Like I'm just going to send it to all my clients that I have in my inbox, like 1,000 people or whatever. And the point isn't to invite them to, if they're available on that day. The point is just kind of like get on their radar.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. 100%. So I think it's a great idea, dude. Hell yeah, Matt, I love the time block post podcast. Is a great idea.
Yeah, I've been trying to think of pushing the action items.
Yep.
That way it's not. I love talking. I can talk all day, but it's like start to kind of bang.
Yeah,
get it back to just like banging stuff out and producing.
Yep.
So
yeah, practicing rather than just philosophizing. Completely agree.
Exactly.
All right, dudes. I think it's a good time to wrap up.
Thank you, Wes. Thank you, Matt.
Later, bros.
Later, man.
Friday we're going to do an ab check on you, Matt. Okay.
Be my
Ooh,
guest.
Friday
Absolutely.
ab check.
No problem. No
Friday
problem.
ab check. I'm down for a Friday ab check. Let's do it.
Absolutely no problem.
All right, cool.
All right. Later
All
on.
right, dudes.
Gentlemen.